Fuck me. Fuck me, man. No, perks is just like, and now it's not there. Like, really, it's fucking annoying, bro. Seriously. Come on, man. Hey, what up? What up? Good evening, people. How y'all doing, man? Sorry for the dead air. A little frustrated with this Zoom thing, man. Cannot get this thing to sync up. I cannot get the Zoom to sync up with the YouTube. When I preview the videos, the video that I preview won't sync up. It's frustrating the hell out of me. But let's see if we can have a good show, man. Hopefully, as the show moves along, I'll be in a better mood. So this evening we're going to be talking about polygyny, and polygyny is specifically the practice of a man having multiple wives. Um, Polygamy, of course, is either a man or a woman having multiple spouses. So for the men, it would be polygyny. So a man having multiple wives, polygyny, a woman having multiple husbands, polyandry. So today, the topic is going to be polygyny, right? Because who the hell practices polyandry? That shit is weird. That has no viability whatsoever. And if you're a dude that's like one of a woman's husbands, to me, life, you might as well just find the nearest mountain and just jump off it, bro. Ain't no purpose for you living. Anyway, man, let me share this link. Let me see if I could get my homie up in here, Stu Peas, man. Hopefully he could pick me up, cause I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm pissed. The time I was spending trying to get this stream up, I was supposed to be doing research, and didn't even get to do any research. But I got to do a little bit. All right, where you at, Stu? Man, oh man. Yes, sir. Zoom link is up. Let me see if anybody's in the chat, man. If anybody's in the chat, let me know if y'all can hear me loud and clear. See here. Okay, yeah, I'm live. I'm live. Yeah. So let me see if we could get Stu P started, man. So what prompted this particular live today is just thinking about, what is the right way? Because I think in Western society, I think a lot of people hold it that polygamy is kind of there's something kind of depraved about it. It's kind of inherently depraved. Just the very idea of being married to more than one woman. And truthfully speaking, it doesn't have any real viability in the society anyway. Not in somewhere like the United States of America. I think your government and society at large would kind of have to support it, and there'd have to be an infrastructure in place for it to like really work. Of course, polygamy is illegal in the US. So, if anybody would be practicing polygamy, it would be informal. But give me a second, guys. As a matter of fact, I know what I'm gonna do. Um, no, I can't do that. I was gonna play some music, but give me a moment here. It's gonna be a little bit of dead air for a moment. Let me see if I could get Stu Peas on here, man. I need a pick me up right now. I'm real pissed off. Give me one moment, guys. So yeah, Stu Peas is in the back chat, man. Thankfully, man, to the rescue. Because I am extremely frustrated right now. I'm pissed off. So Stu Peas, hopefully, Stu Peas might have to carry the show today, man. Stu Peas gonna have to
Mic
carry the
check, one, two,
show.
three.
Yeah, you're clear. You're clear. Yeah, Stu, you can hear me?
You're breaking up. Is it me or you? I think it's me. I come.
Yeah, so oh man, glad to have Stu Peas here, man. So, like a lot of people in society practice informal monogamy anyway. That'll be the dudes who are married and, they have side women or side chicks and all of that sort of stuff. Like, it's very, very few people who actually practice monogamy, like really, really practice it, like where they marry one person and they only sleep with that person or they're only intimate with that one person until the day they die. If I had to venture a guess, I'd say it's way less than 10% of people who actually adhere to that, like really, really live it. Yeah. Stewie there? So I was actually going to start with a Professor James Small interview. But you know what? Let's start here. Let's start with an article that I was reading earlier regarding polygamy. And this particular gentleman is a detractor. And not only is he a detractor, he goes so far as to say that society should enforce policies to stop the practice. So go ahead and share my screen. Where we at? Share. I'm gonna share the screen here and get into this article, guys. I apologize for not having more energy, man. Like this live streaming thing is kind of annoying. So let's get into it here. So this article is written by, nope, that's not the article that I want. Here we go. So this article is written by a one named Zeke S. Botokuma out of Morgan State University. And in the abstract here, it says, whereas numerous African creation myths are supportive of cultural practices such as circumcision, there are very few, if any, creation myths that justify polygyny. There are many proverbs about polygamy. However, proverbs do not have the same weight as myths in explaining why certain things should be the way they are. African creation myths suggest that monogamy was the original practice not only among creator gods, but also among the original humans. The pursuit of immortality through procreation is noble. Nevertheless, its achievement through polygyny discriminates against women. So, polygyny is a sexist cultural practice that has no genuine religious basis. It is a post-original sin, as well as a culturally and morally controversial issue. It undermines the original gender equality. Consequently, it should be dismantled through education, commitment to, and enforcement of human rights laws. So, already brother Zeke here strikes me as a male feminist, one of my favorite kind of people in the world. Hey, Stu, what's up? You there?
Yeah, I'm here, but guess what? I need to reprimand you on the fact that you started the show before you sent me the link. So I don't know where you're on, and I don't want to repeat anything that you have said before. Right?
Nah, I haven't said anything. That did you hear me reading that article?
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah,
Really,
that's literally the start of the earlier it was dead air because I was super frustrated trying to get the
match thumbnail to match the link.
yeah, I don't know what's going on. So yeah, literally nothing's happened. That abstract
Okay,
that I
sir.
just read is literally the beginning of the show. So
All right. So today we're talking about polygamy and what it means to be a polygamist. Right? But before we even go further, we need to understand that we need to first establish that many persons, they're not actually practicing polygamy as it was mandated by some. They're more practicing orgyism, having private orgies with multiple women in the same bed with themselves and calling these women wives. They have a, I say Harlem, you say, what is it? What's the right word?
harem.
Harem, right.
Yeah.
They have a harem, or they want to have a harem, and they say that I am practicing polygamy because I have a mini harem.
Right.
But what is polygamy? And should people be allowed to practice polygamy? I say yes. A man with the financial means to provide and protect for many women should be able to practice polygamy. Because one of the primary things that women say they want to provide and protect. So let's say Bill Gates, a billionaire, wants to practice polygamy. He should be able to. He can provide for as many families as he chooses. But let's say
Right.
Pookie down the street wants to tell you that him is a polygamist. And he can't even look after one child. I do have a problem with that. That he cannot provide and protect for one child. That his child is on the state system. No. But people will tell you that polygamy is wrong because when a man marry, he should only marry to one woman, right? That marriage is like Christ and the church, that Jesus Christ is married to the church, and there's one church and one Christ, right? It's off a Christian religious system. They get the ideology of monogamy. No, I have no problem with polygamy. Granted that you can protect and provide for all of these women. No, if you get up this morning and you say, I want multiple wives to be sleeping in the same bed with me every night, that is nastiness. You're practicing nastiness now. It's nastiness you want to practice. It's sodomy you want to practice. That's what you want to practice. Right? What? This woman must be lying down in the same bed while they're having sex with the other wife, and she must participate in the sexual activity. That's not polygamy. That's not polygamy. That is perversion. Now, if we have a conversation on polygamy, and you say, I have the means to build 10 houses and send 100 children to private school and to educate and inform them, I have no problem with that. But if you live in a 3-bedroom house, and because you're bored sexually now, you say, listen, I want to spice up the bedroom. And one of the ways to spice up the bedroom is to introduce another woman into the bedroom or another man into the bedroom. No, right? No, that's not polygamy. That's something else. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think most people would agree with you on that. I mean,
Mm.
a moments before I was saying that, in a country like the United States, you can't practice polygamy anyway. As I was
That's
saying, you
not
would
true.
need. Well, I don't think you could practice it in any healthy way
That's not true.
because because the infrastructure, the societal infrastructure, and the norms, it's not set up, and the people aren't socialized for it.
And
Um,
again, that's not true.
that people
There's this
aren't
book, I
socialized
can't
to.
remember. Yeah, there's this book. I can't remember, I think I've got it in my audio book. Where somebody was questioning the Mormon faith, and they came to the conclusion that Mormonism, the early Mormon church, introduced polygamy into their religion, and it is practiced by many in the Mormon faith today. That there many are polygamous. Many of them have many wives, 2, 3, 4 wives. Many believe that it is essential that they have many wives in order to make it into heaven. Right? That's
Right.
part of the one faith. So
You're breaking up still.
sometimes, yeah, yeah, these women sometimes approach the men to be second and third wife. So they are socialized to accept in their faith that they must have large families with many wives, right? And they're socialized as such. They're socialized as such. So it depends on what you're talking about. But in the Mormon faith,
Mhm.
they practice polygamous.
Well, it's a small subset of society. I was more so speaking to society at large.
Yeah, it's
Of course, it's not legally sanctioned, and even beyond that, in countries where polygamy is practiced, the women, from from childhood to teenage years, etc., it's a practice that they're familiar with and they see. As opposed to a place like America, 90% of women here, they're gonna bristle at even the idea of it. Would you agree with that?
right. No, I will agree with that. If you're not socialized that way, you'll find it very offensive. But then, is a side chick, does a side chick in a long-standing relationship with a married man,
Mm-hmm.
is she practicing some kind of polygamy? Because I know women that have been faithful to married men. faithful to married men. Right? They're with married men for many years. Right? Many years they will be with a married man, and they consider themselves a part of his life. There's this joke I watched on YouTube, where on TikTok, where this married man was sick, and the side chick, who he has been with many years, called the wife and asked the wife if she can let her come over and look after him for a day or two if she don't want a break from him, because this man has been good to her all her life for the years that they have been together, and she feel that she should get the opportunity to look after him. When Bob Marley had cancer in the hospital, Rita Marley and Cindy Breakspear was at the apartment in Miami looking after him at the same time.
Right.
Right? But these women weren't grown to be polygamous. But you have women who are long-standing side chicks and have no problem being side chicks and have no problem being faithful to married men. Is that not polygamy? Some would argue it is. In the black community, 50% of black men don't have children. The, the majority of black men with children have children by multiple partners. So of the black men with children, the majority of them who have multiple children have children with multiple partners. So is that not polygamous? That somebody can have 28 children by 27 baby mother, and it is accepted in the community? Is that it's more like don't ask, don't tell? That's the approach we take in our community. Don't ask, don't tell. I won't ask you about the other women, but don't tell me about them. Don't flaunt them in my face. Right? But my thing is that we heard in this community, in the conscious community, which I'm separating myself from a little at a time, Brother Polite will say he has 4 wives. He never said I have 4 houses, but all of the wives live in the same houses as he did, slept in the same bed that he did. That is not polygamy. That is nastiness. That is nastiness. You're introducing deviant sexual behavior now to the community. I have no problem with gay and bisexual people. I have a problem with practicing orgy. So, along with the LBGQ element of P, we're going to put P plus now for the polygamist. Is that acceptable sexual behavior now? P plus when you sleep in the bed with multiple people? No, I don't see it that way. Are you there, Oscar?
Yeah, I'm here. I was actually gathering my thoughts. It's an interesting question you asked about the kind of default polygamy that's practiced here, typically in the West, particularly in the Black community. But it's a strange thing with our people. The way how we're socialized here is competition is a big thing. So like a woman could know that she's a side chick, but the idea that potentially one day she could be the one, will keep her engaged, as opposed to in something that's officially billed as a polygamous relationship. She would have to accede to the idea that she's going to be collaborating with another woman or other women. So I think that's the thing. It's a weird thing with women. Because like, for instance, a woman could be an actual sex worker, right? Let's say she actually sells sex, but she objects to being called the P word.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just a weird thing with women, the label thing. It's something about labels they are resistant to, but they have a lot of times they have no issues doing the behavior or practicing the behavior. And that's part of what I wanted to get into this live stream from the male end. Can you hear me, Stu? Stu, you there? Yeah, so from the male end, it's polygyny, right? That's the name of when a man has multiple wives. The question is tonight, how much of having multiple wives is based on the sexual gratification and the ego gratification of having multiple women? Like West Africa, uh, most of the time that I see the reasons for why it's practiced is to kind of join clans or join families, and typically it's economic or some kind of political thing. Typically it's given kind of a noble tint, but imagining that men aren't much different today than they were in yesteryear, no one can convince me that even in the most noble of situations, or in the most noble version of polygamy, that a big part of it isn't the personal gratification that a man gets out of being with multiple women. And the question I'd like to pose tonight is there something wrong with that? Is that depraved? I feel like in today's society, it's become kind of taboo for men to indulge their base natures. Of course, you never want to indulge those things beyond a certain point, right? Tends to become dangerous. And
I don't know if you bring up the African leader yet. Did you bring up the African leader, the one with 200 wives?
no, I haven't.
Right? Because it answers the question. Let's say, if I have 10 wives, if I have 5 wives, if I have 5 wives, and I say I will spend a week with each wife, or I will spend a night with each wife, right? And I have 5 wives. Basically, I'm spending one night per week with each wife. That means they're going to be 1 week where this wife doesn't see me at all. So between the first wife and the fifth wife, it's almost going to be 1 week. No grown ass man have time to have sex 5 times a week. You might be having sex 5 times a week in the beginning because it was thrilling and it was stroking your ego. But after a while, let's say you decide to have sex 4 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week. There's going to be weeks when one wife will not be having sex. Suppose she wants to have sex. You have to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks before you're ready to have sex again. While you're getting all the sex that you want, is she getting all the sex that she wants?
Hey,
Does,
I feel prompted to inject a fresh and fitism here. Have you ever
mm,
heard Myron say, "Well, a woman's pleasure doesn't matter, and a woman shouldn't care about pleasure"? I don't know where that came to mind. It's just funny, man. Dudes is crazy.
if we're having sex for the primary purpose of just procreation, pleasure don't matter. Let's say there was an apocalypse and there's 100 men and 1,000,000 women, and you're having sex just for procreation, then pleasure wouldn't matter. But we're not having sex for procreation alone anymore. So if you are doing that, if her pleasure don't matter, you'll be getting the starfish. And if you're getting the starfish, you might as well having sex with a pillow or a carcass.
Right.
If her
You
pleasure don't
know,
matter, you can
but I'm
have sex with
sure
a
if you're
carcass.
I'm sure if you're the king, like the king in Swaziland, your wives are gonna perform. You know, they're gonna perform. You know, they don't have. It's not like here in the West where there's some semblance of equity between the sexes. Over there they're kind of conditioned to look at men as virtually their overseers.
And that's
So
not true. That's not true. That's not true.
you're saying it's not
Because
true that
that's
they're
not true.
in a place like Swaziland?
In a place like a lot of people like to believe because when we look at which culture, there's a culture that practice labia stretching, where the woman stretch the labia and clitoris, stretch the labia in order for it to be more pleasurable for the husband. But these same women say that if the man not making them water, it don't make any
Hmm.
sense. One of the biggest songs in Africa is "Make Me Water" by that pretty little colored girl from South Africa. Right? When she said
Hmm.
"Make Me Water," what do you think she's saying? And why is that song so popular in Africa and across the world? When somebody said "Make me sweat, make me water, make me achieve orgasm,"
Hmm.
is that sexual pleasure was always important for both sexes. No, people make sacrifices, yes, and I will agree that women make sacrifices, and a lot of these sacrifices that these women make in order is because this person is providing. Many women will stay with some men because he's a great provider, not because he performs wonderful in the bedroom. It's because he pays the bill. So she made the sacrifice that listen, I can live in a state of comfort, and all I have to do is forego my sexual pleasure. With the king in Africa, Swaziland, with 100 wives, how
Hmm.
often some of those wives will ever have sex with him? Is there 10 or 20 wives who didn't have sex in the last 5 years because he had five favorite wives that he turns to all the time? There's always going to be a favorite or two among those 200 that when he wants to have sex, that's the one he reach for. It's like your favorite sneakers. You collect, you have 100 sneakers, but some sneakers was never worn in the last 5 years. Some you have bought sneakers that you have not worn, but you have sneakers that you'll wear every day. I'm just using that analogy. I'm not disrespecting women or discarding women. I'm just saying that these men, it's a power thing to look around and say, I have one of the largest wife collections in the world. Nobody has more wives than me. It's a power thing. It's an ego thing. It's not about the sex anymore. It's not about the pleasure. It's about stroking his ego. A man walking up and down and say, I have 10 baby mother. It's a power thing. If we look at Nick Cannon. You could have 10 children with one woman. Right? Why didn't he, if he wanted a large family, he should have selected a woman to say, listen, I want 10 children. And there are women out there willing to have 10 children because in the past, women had 10 and 12 children. Right? She would have willing to have 10 children for him.
So are you of the opinion that well, the discussion tonight is specifically about polygyny, right?
Right. Mhm.
Now, I'm not going to show off here because I just recently really got clear on this today when I Googled it, right? So, polygamy can be practiced by a man or a woman,
Oh, yes, it
right?
can.
Now, when it's practiced by a man having multiple wives, it is called, hold on, I got a comment here. It says the one woman body won't be the same. I guess he's commenting on the one woman having like 12 kids or whatever. Um, so I was saying polygamy, when practiced by a male having multiple wives, is called polygyny. Polygyny.
Right?
And when it's practiced by a woman having multiple husbands, I can't even wrap my brain around that one. It's called polyandry, right? So
Yes.
tonight, the discussion specifically about polygyny.
Right. We're not. We're
So the question to you, Stupies, is, are you of the opinion that polygyny, there's something inherently depraved about it?
no. Depends on how it is practiced. Depending on how it is practiced. If my my ideal version, what I will accept is that if a man has the resources to maintain multiple families, go ahead. And if these women are in agreement with it, to say, listen, I am a provider and a protector, but I want multiple children by multiple women. Everybody will be looked after. You would get the American dream, the white picket fence, the chicken in the pot every night. I'll cover all of that. The children will be educated. The resources will be available. You will live comfortable. I have no problem with that.
Right. It's
But
the
if
other
you're
stuff.
going, but
All
if
right,
now
so
you're going to say,
let's get into speaking to your point. Let's get into Professor Smalls here.
right, let's hear Professor Small.
Professor Small, excuse me. I always say Smalls like Biggest Smalls, but it's
Mm.
Small. All right, so let's see what
Well,
Professor.
we could call him the notorious Professor Small too. He's notorious, right? He and Biggie would be on the same plane in terms of what they mean to the community. So
Right.
I don't think he'll take it as an
And
offensive if you call him Small. If you call him the notorious Professor Small, like notorious Biggie Small, I don't think he'll be offended.
have you
Right?
ever watched the TV series Godfather in Harlem?
No, but I know of
No.
it. Bumpy Johnson, I know of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
So James Small is a consultant on that show because I believe
Bumpy.
he used to know him. Yeah, he used to know
Because
Bumpy
yeah,
Johnson
because
personally.
he knew Malcolm X personally, and
Yeah, and
Malcolm X and Bumpy were close friends.
he was
Yeah,
also close with Malcolm X.
right.
All right, so let me share my audio here, guys. We're gonna get into our elder Professor Small and see he has to say about polygyny.
Mhm.
Where did this idea come from? Because polygamy and Islam and popular culture seems to go hand in hand. So where did this idea come from? That
From Arabism, people watching the Arab world, looking at Arab history, people having 100 wives and these harems. None of that is Islamic. Matter of fact, it's fundamentally anti-Islam. O ye Muslim men, take from among the orphans and the widows of your brothers killed in battle, as many as your heart can possess, mean you can love equally, treat fairly, up to 4. That was to keep other non-Muslim men from abusing them. There's nothing in the Quran that allows you to have multiple wives as a general proposition. Okay, there's only one occasion after the Battle of Badr, the first major revolutionary battle that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ takes part in. Some of the Muslim brothers get killed. Now their wives are orphans, I mean their girl children are orphans and their wives are widows in a hostile Judeo-Christian environment. And so Muhammad says to the Muslim brothers, oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the video there. I'd like to have a conversation with Professor Small because you immediately went to Arabism, but there's a belt across Africa where polygyny was widely practiced without any contact with Islam. So I would love to hear his take on polygyny in West Central and East Africa. Forget about the Islamists or the Muslims.
But
Go ahead.
surprisingly, it is practiced more in the parts of Africa that is dominated by the Muslim. But continue.
Ye Muslim men, take from among the widows and the orphans of your brothers killed in battle, as many as your heart can possess, meaning you can treat equally, up to 4. In African general culture, polygamy existed, but as the minority proposition, monogamy is the African proposition, not polygamy. Polygamy is the exception in African culture. But people love the idea of having more than one woman in a legitimate framework rather than dealing with the responsibility of building family. So that's what it came down to. And so these are the kinds of things we were struggling with at that time. And it still exists today. People still have the wrong reason. Well, let me tell you why Africans created polygamy. Even today, for every one male child, there's 2 to 3 female male children. Well, it was the same 1,000 years ago. The Africans decide, what do we do with the surplus Muslim population? Female population. Europe took the surplus female population and made them whores and prostitutes. Africa didn't do that. Africa said those who can afford to and could properly take care of should marry more than one woman, so that your female population get the same opportunity to have families and children like any other element of the population, and you don't develop that whore class, prostitute class that developed in Europe. So is that plain enough?
Yeah, I wish you'd get more specific. I don't like when you do the Africa thing, because the cultures are so diverse. I'd much prefer to hear, at least
Which
select
country?
like,
Which
select like
country?
one or
Yeah.
two, and
Example.
even within countries, there's oftentimes based on the, for lack of a better word, tribe or ethnic groups, there are different practices. So I would have loved to have heard him perhaps select 2 or 3 groups or countries or whatever have you, and kind of get a little bit more granular with it, which he probably can because he's a very, very well informed guy. But I would love to hear something more.
But
more,
let him continue, and then after I'll cite a European example.
Okay. All right, hold on.
No, very right. But with the African, I always hear people argue and they say historically Africans practice polygamy. So where did this get into the street history?
The same reason people are celebrating 50 years of hip hop without dealing with the damage and the destruction hip hop did to black community in that 50 years. Now white people want to make some more money off of them, milk them like great cows again, so now they're going to have 50-year celebration with some glorious music dance tradition that never happened that way. And so the same way when we look at polygamy, we don't ask why polygamy, where polygamy, who polygamy, how polygamy. We just talk about polygamy. Some poor guy who can barely grow 2 rows of beans, how's he going to have 2 wives and take care of 2 wives, all right? Those people who took more than one wife was people who had the wherewithal to take care of more than one wife, because you had to provide a separate home for each of those women, all right? And you had to provide for them equally. And that polygamy was not a male-controlled institution, it was a female-run institution. You didn't choose who your wives are going to be. Your wives chose who your wives.
See again, man. Professor, I'm pretty sure that wasn't uniform across all of Africa. This idea that the women selected who you got with, like, I'm pretty sure that's not how that went.
I think he's minimizing it, but then the thing about it, he's minimizing it. But if we look at it, and I'm using the Mormon church example, that these women will allow, all right, you don't choose to have sex with a girl choose to have sex with you because she controls the vagina, right? So although you go up to her, you make the proposition and you introduce to her that, listen, I am interested in a sexual encounter with you. No, it is in her hands to determine whether or not this sexual encounter goes on or it doesn't. Although you proposed it, she has the power to either deny it or to accept it. And in those cultures, men with the ability always propose women that, listen, I am in need of a second wife, and this is why you should be my second wife. Because being my second wife is better than being a first wife for 90% of the men around you. If if Bill Gates come to your wife and say, leave your husband and be my second wife, my first wife is in agreement with it, and your wife is materialistic, she sometimes take Bill Gates' proposition. Although Bill Gates made the proposition, she was the one who determined whether or not it happened. I think that is what Professor James Small is trying to say. That men will always make propositions. But women decided whether or not this was to their benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like sex. Yeah. Women decide who they have sex with. Unless you're going to take it by gunpoint, like Buju Banton said. But if you're going to be reasonable and speak truth, no, you don't decide it. She decided.
Yeah.
Continue.
So yeah, I'd love to hear from somebody like who's been studying the subject for a long time, and perhaps perhaps James Small has more information. He's on a platform that doesn't really perhaps the format didn't allow for him to get really deep into it. But in a country like modern day Swaziland, which we're going to be playing a video from there shortly, where the girls at, I believe, as young as 15, maybe even younger, their parents send them to basically entice the king into selecting them as one of his wives. In that situation, there's no woman's, picking anything, right? So I think insofar as that goes, it would be a case-by-case basis, and be interested to have a conversation with somebody who's well-versed on it to kind of really go culture by culture and really get into granular details. But let's finish up with Professor Smalls here. We have a little under 2 minutes to go.
Gonna be.
So the first wife would choose the other wives?
That's right. Not just the first, but maybe the first wife, her mother, your aunties, the women of the house made that choice.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
No, that little far fetched.
Yeah,
but,
I'm not
that's a
gonna.
little far fetched. But
I'm not
continue.
gonna.
We're not going to try to discredit Professor Small here. So let's hear him out.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to say something. Because I don't think it's an indictment on him, but oftentimes I'll hear scholars and other people say we should endeavor to kind of mentally divest from Western thinking. But I think there are certain avenues or in certain things where Western thinking influences our thinking so much that we don't even realize it. To my mind, when I hear Professor Smalls kind of oversimplifying and kind of talking up this idea of women having this, this ultra agency and they select, and it's giving off, like male feminist vibes. Like, like that's not what was going on, Professor Small. Like,
all right, in Nigeria, when a man is courting a woman, he's not only courting the woman, he's courting her whole family. So I think he just expanded on that because they allowed multiple wives in certain Nigerian tribes. So when that same man is courting a woman for a second wife, he's courting the whole family. So probably that's where he got it from. So that's what he's saying. But that does not happen in all cultures. In some cultures, especially in Arabic cultures, daughters are sometimes sold off. When I use the word sold, I don't really mean exchange for money, but it's exchanged for something else. Whereas the daughters are usually exchanged or given a way to increase the prominence of the family. Right? So it's not in all cultures that happens. Some cultures it's a community effort, while in other cultures it's a selfish thing.
Yeah.
Probably right.
Basically, what I'm saying is he's playing up the agency of the women.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
really he's laying it on thick, and then also I can tell that he's repulsed by the notion that, and this does exist, of course, right? The men are trying to indulge their carnal desires, and you can tell that um, just on a base level, he really takes exception to that. Like it disgusts him. It's very
Right.
clear, and
Yeah.
because of that bias that he has, I don't think he's being completely forthcoming here. He's kind of there's kind of an agenda here because he feels like it is noble. There's something noble. The impression that I get that monogamy represents the absolute most noble of
Human
relationship.
interaction.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, and he's really, really pushing that in a really political manner. But let's go ahead and close out here with Professor Small.
Okay, depending on the needs of the house, and your capability to afford to take care of another family element,
So
which was made polygamy a minority function, not a majority function.
so polygamy should not be a conversation in modern day black community.
No, we're not capable of taking care of one woman, let alone multiple women. I felt that way in the 60s. I feel that way now. Because that didn't make me happy with the Muslims of that day, because everybody was running towards that trend. And so I told them, well, you can pack up and leave the Muslim mosque in, because it's not going to be practiced here.
But when they approach polygamy, they don't understand the concept of providing for numerous
They're just
women.
looking for sex.
Sex.
It's all about sex, okay? And they don't even understand sex. The average black man or white man don't even know how to make love to a woman, They're caught up in poor white cultural fantasy. Poor white cultural fantasy that's not predicated on any significant value or ethical moral foundation.
all right. Let me just say that the last 2 minutes, I agree with Professor Small. I agree with Professor Small. And it's about black people being caught up into white poor cultural fantasy. Right? Let's start with let's start even with pornography. Black porn was totally different than white porn in the 80s when I first got a VHS of was it's not a DVD player, it's a VHS, a tape player. So porn came about. Black porn was totally different than white porn. Black perversion was totally different than white perversion. We didn't see black people having oral sex in their porn. We didn't see black people shaved in their porn. But as time progressed, white men begin to shave, black men begin to shave. White men begin to engage in oral sex, black men begin to engage in oral sex. Our fantasies, even our fantasies that we have, fisting, rimming, threesomes. Black porn never have threesomes. It was a white porn thing. So we engage in white people fantasies, white people harem behavior, and we embraced and we took it as our own. It's not something that we were practicing. I'm not saying that we were being faithful as black men. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the level of perversion was not the same. Sexual perversion was not the same. But no, it's reached a point now, the pinnacle, where somebody's not okay now to have sex with somebody else other than the partner on the side. They don't want to have
Hmm.
sex with somebody else with the partner in the bed. And to convince this other person, they're saying to the other person, say, listen, you are my wife also. And so both wives say, since we're a wife, we're equally one. We can do things together also. So not only is he having sex with the wife, but the wife's having sex with the wife. If you don't see something fundamentally wrong with that, we need to carry it to a head doctor. You need to, that level of perversion, we need to carry it to a head doctor. It might sound fun, yeah. And it might say, oh Lord, I was doing this and I was doing that. Right? How soon until you get tired of that now and decide, to, okay, we have two women in the bed, let's have two men in the bed. Let's start having sex with men also then. Let the men start having sex with men. And the women having sex with women. And everybody have sex with everybody. It's okay. It's okay. We live in a free, liberated society. No, no, we're not accepting that level of perversion. We're not moving the line. Where the line is now is not where it was 50 years ago. So what would the line look like 100 years from now? Where your son come home with a tranny and say, this is my, and you must be accepting of it? And he said, I have the best of both worlds. I have a girlfriend with a dick. Yeah, I have a girlfriend with a dick. So when I'm ready, I can have sex with her anally or orally, and I can also suck a dick when I feel like sucking a dick. Is that what we're saying? Is that we're selling now? Is that you're buying?
Well, I want to say something. I think we should make a clear delineation between, sexual perversion and
Polygamy.
yeah, and polygyny or whatever may have you,
Mm.
right? Now,
Yeah.
as far as I know, I really just started doing some reading on this. I'm probably going to get some books on this, but
Mm.
as far as I know, it was the European that was the first group that was super strident about enforcing monogamy.
And that's not
If I'm
true.
if
That's
I'm
not true.
you
That's
have
not
another
true.
example?
Monogamy was always a measure enforced for poor people because rich people, princes and kings and men of business were always allowed to have their mistresses. In France, you know who the mistresses were. King Leopold mistress has a mansion. Type up on King Leopold
But
mistress.
would you say that, far as I
And
know, far as I know, European society or European descended societies were the
mm,
first to outright criminalize having more than one wife.
yes, they basically say, listen, you are not allowed to have multiple wives, but you can have multiple mistresses. And to rich people, mistresses were treated as wives. They had places in
Right.
courts. So it's like what it is that when the Christian
But
church
to me, that's more despicable than because first of all, it's only the men of means who can even practice this thing, right? So regardless of
mm,
where you fall on
mm,
the whatever side you fall on the argument, I believe
uh,
that should be a consensus. So starting there, let's say you
mm,
have a man who has the wherewithal to take
accommodate
care of right.
to accommodate
Um
multiple women.
right. It is more it's more just for those women to be official wives than to be mistresses, because a wife would have legal rights and everything that attends to that. whereas a mistress, you're just,
And
you
that's
know what I
not true
mean?
also. That's not true also, because in courts, a mistress was an official title. A mistress is not somebody he was poking. A mistress is a formal relationship. Everybody knew about these men mistresses. It
But
was not secret.
they were under
And they were allowed
contract.
in
Were they
a
protected
contract.
by?
They were protected because they were accepted. And they were also that they were left estates in wills.
Hmm.
Mistresses were somebody who would look after. It's an official title that everybody knew that it was a mistress. Everybody knew that the great, the great president was sleeping with a black woman. Everybody knew. His wife knew. Everybody knew. In the 17th and 18th century, it was expected that men of means had mistresses. Now, the only thing that would his mistress is because she was black.
Right.
That's why she was not fully protected. But everybody of means had mistresses, and it was generally accepted, right? And these mistresses, they might not been allowed to go to the opening, the first day of the theater, but he would carry her to the theater in the mid-season, and people would know that he took his mistress to the theater to watch the play. But he took his wife to watch a play on the opening night.
Right. Want to get into an article real quick. Another
Mhm.
gentleman, he's kind of in the same vein as Professor Small. He gets a little bit more detailed here, though. So I'd read the abstract earlier, so I'm going to start from, the beginning part of the article. So he says here, at all times, humans have recurred to religion, magical and mythical beliefs to explain why certain things are and should be the way they are. So, for example, the Dogon and Nibbambara cosmology explains the practice of circumcision by saying, among other things, that it is a mechanism devised to rid boys and girls of their native androgyny and dual soul, thereby stabilizing and allowing them to procreate. In other words, male circumcision and female excision are necessary to establish the sex of the adult without question. Another religious reason is the need to pay blood debt to Mother Earth. The Isoko and Orhobo of the Delta State, Nigeria, circumcised women during the advanced stages of their pregnancy because of the legendary belief that if left uncircumcised, the clitoris will cause symbolic or spiritual injury to the baby. Whereas many African myths and legends are supportive of circumcision and many other cultural practices, there are very few, if any, creation myths that justify the widespread custom of polygyny. Of course, there are many proverbs about polygamy and co-wives, but proverbs do not have the same weight as myths. Indeed, the former are humans' sayings, whereas the latter are sacred literatures, so to speak. Numerous African creation myths developed the idea that monogamy was the original practice among creator gods and among the first human couples. After reading numerous creation myths, I have identified 5 of them which substantiate this claim. These myths are representative of 5 geographic areas of sub-Saharan Africa. That is the northern, southern, eastern, western, and central Africa. So I'm going to stop there. And so basically, he's centralizing his argument around the idea of how much ancient societies valued their mythologies and how much it ordered and informed the way they conducted their business and how they ran their societies. And it's not a bad argument, actually. And he's saying basically that monogamy, excuse me, was was venerated above all others, and he's going to go into detail there. So, Stu, you have
Uh,
anything?
he overlooked one important thing. Years ago, I read this book by this African Muslim author. She went to Switzerland to live, and she became a part of the Swiss government. I can't remember her name, but she wrote a beautiful book explaining how she was castrated as a girl. And one of the things that I took away from the book was this: was that in many cultures who practice female mutilation, they also practice polygamy. And what we know about female mutilation is that it takes away or it minimizes the ability for women to have pleasure from sex. So a
Right.
fearful man who has multiple wives, who want them to remain faithful to him and him alone, and have sex with him out of duty and not out of pleasure, will mutilate a woman, thereby taking away her ability to enjoy sex.
Mhm.
Because many men who have many wives are fearful as men that they alone cannot appease all of these women. So they'll practice mutilation, they're practicing wearing the hijab. You realize that they're covering up these women. You're polygamous, but you're covering up all of these women that you have. Why? Because you're fearful that other men will see it, and then this woman will confess your shortcoming to other men that, listen, I have not had sex. I have not had pleasure from this man for many years. So I'm going to take away the ability for you to enjoy sex, or I'm going to cover you up and not allow anyone to see you. So you're no longer a sexual being. You're now something else when you go on the road. I don't know what else you would be, but polygamy becomes something that is not good. Because a man with 10 wives know within himself in you that I can satisfy these women. But so what I'm doing, I'm going to subjugate these women somewhere, somehow. I'm going to lock them away in a golden cage, and they're going to be served by a eunuch, Genghis Khan, or I'm going to cover them from head to toe and only leave a slit for the eyes that somebody else can't see them. And they must, and when they go on the road, they must be accompanied or policed by a family member. I remember living here, and this little boy was 12 years old. And if his mother wanted to go on the street, she had to carry the 12-year-old with her. She had to be accompanied by a male in the family, her 12-year-old son, who reported to his father if there was anything that he suspected that was not happening, right? Of female mutilation, like many African countries. That is what polygamy can cause. It can cause a further suppression of women. I'm not sounding like a feminist. I just sharing the facts that men know that you cannot you cannot outsex a woman, because if your penis is even 10 inches long, after that time she'll learn to accommodate it, and then you still won't be able to outsex her, because it's a biology. But you want 10 wife, you want 5 wife, right? So what you do know, they say, all right, since I can't fully satisfy this one woman, I am going to pervert her enough that they satisfy themselves. That the onus is not only on me to satisfy you, but on you to satisfy yourself with the other wife also. So while I'm in the bed, when I finish, both of you can engage in sex and oral sex and get each other off if you want to get off one more time. That's a danger of polygamy. It's a perversion of individuals. And then these men become very perverted after a while. We don't know how perverted they become. They might become.
You there, Stu? Yeah, you're breaking up. So yeah, it was interesting that Stu was making the point that The same people who practice polygamy tend to kind of want to restrain a woman's sexuality or constrain a woman's sexuality with the practice of female circumcision and kind of dulling the sensitivity of the clitoris. Whereas this gentleman here in this article, he kind of divorces the two. You know, he states a creation myth that substantiates or justifies female circumcision, um, and says that polygamy is kind of separate from that. Like one is sanctioned by the creation myth of that society, and polygyny isn't. Whereas Stupi was basically saying that those polygamists or the guys who practice it tend to be the ones that practice the circumcision. So he's kind of saying the opposite of what this gentleman in this article was saying. So I'm going to read a little bit more of this article here insofar as this gentleman's opinions on, you know, polygyny and the viability of it, right? So I think I left off here. It says here, he says, with exception for the plant of life, a Nyamwezi story, Tanzania, in which Shida Matunda created all things, as well as two women whom he took as wives. Virtually all married divinities were monogamous. Furthermore, in my research, I came across only one instance in which a god gave the original man, which is Moon, more than a wife, Morning Star and Evening Star. And Moon was given a second wife only after God had called the first one to go and live in the sky. Consequently, I contend that African religions are not the authentic foundation of polygyny or the practice of having more than one wife or female mate at one time. What is more, the pursuit of personal immortality through procreation could possibly be a religious reason for polygyny. Immortality is a noble goal for every human being. The achievement of that goal through polygyny, however, discriminates against women. Now, that's interesting that he doesn't feel that way about female circumcision. Interesting. It is the highest expression of sexual Darwinism. A male's is Hobbesian egoism, androcentrism, and will to power. A sexist pursuit of immortality cannot be a plausible religious practice. Consequently, polygyny is not only a male's post-original sin, but also a social and moral evil. It must be dismantled through education and socio-political commitment to human rights. So I'm going to stop there. If anyone in the chat, I'm eager to hear you guys' opinions. What do you think about that? About this gentleman's position on polygyny? You know, he's not only saying that he not only objects to it, he's saying there should be laws, you know, laws to out expressly and outrightly ban it. So what do you guys think? You know, is polygamy inherently depraved and inherently subject, you know, does it inherently subjugate women, in your opinion? So sound off in the chat. Be interested to hear what you guys think.
I disagree with him, brother. And this is why I disagree with him. The depravity originate with people. And anything can become depraved. Anything can become depraved. Monogamy can become depraved. Right? Because you can be in a monogamous relationship and the level of depravity you practice is beyond the imagination of many people. Right? You introduce piss and shit into the relationship. Is that not depraved? Right?
It certainly is.
Right? So depravity, when you use the word depravity, that any system can be corrupted by depravity.
Do you agree with his position that polygyny just by as a function, just by, you know, its very existence very existence and how it works subjugates women?
No, it does not. It
Okay.
does not. It does not, because marriage, monogamy can subjugate women also, right? It is the individual who engages in the practice that turns it depraved, meaning that if a righteous individual can approach polygamy righteously,
Right.
they're right, you can approach it righteously, because if you understand what your goal is as an individual, what is your expectation, what is your primary function as a man, as a father, is to teach, send on the knowledge, provide, and protect. And if you can do all of these things to multiple people, and you know that you can, I'm not talking about somebody who cannot know, right? Because it's not every man who's monogamous deserves to be a husband. We have to argue that then, if he's arguing that it is depraved. And it's not every woman who's monogamous deserves to be a wife. Because if that was so, we wouldn't have so high a divorce rate in the world. But most marriages, more than 50% of marriages end in divorce. That means that these persons weren't husband and wife for each other. They may have been husband and
Mm.
wife for somebody else, but not for each other. So anything can be perverted. Anything
Right.
can be perverted. It's how it
He's
is
his
approached.
position that is inherently, inherently
That's,
problematic.
that's not true. That's not true. Just like how the thing about it is that if 90% of marriages end because of financial, the divorces that end up divorces is because of financial constraint. People feel that they are not being protected as they should be, or provided for as they should be. And so they find themselves unhappy. It's not about the sex. The sex coming after the finances, because the finances right, wrong, the sex going to get troubled by it. And the relationship dissolve over time. If a man is a provider, an adequate provider, many women knew that the men are unfaithful, but because he's an adequate provider, they stay with him for the benefits of the family. Ask your grandmother. She know that he had women on the other side of town, but he came home to her and he protected and he provided for the family.
Oh, by the
If
way,
you
I got
can
a question.
formalize,
I got a question for you, Stu, because
yeah,
so much of this thing, or originally in antiquity, the basis of it was the ability of a man to quote unquote provide for a woman.
provide, right.
In within my question to you is within the context of modern day society, particularly the West, most specifically the United States, where
Mhm.
women, for all intents and purposes, are making practically the same amount of money as men, and they're able to take care of their most immediate needs without a man.
Mhm.
How would that color the polygamous interaction? How does it change anything for you, or how do you see that?
It would change the dynamics of the relationship, because what would change is that, although it might sound unfortunate, when a woman is capable of providing and providing for herself, and the state is applying protection, because most women, if they lived 300 years ago, even if they were rich, they couldn't protect themselves. They're not strong enough, they're not fast enough. But in modern society, the state provide protection, meaning that if she feel like she's in danger, she's 3 digits on her phone away from two big, strong, burly men coming to her rescue, the police, right? So the state now provide protection, and she is providing for herself. No, because of this, she's sometimes disillusioned in believing that her value has significantly increased. That because she don't need you to provide for her or to protect her, her demands must be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
Where
How would you
she's
feel
saying that,
about how would you feel about a guy having multiple wives and the wives are working? So it's completely modern.
No, again, the ability to work, or I would leave that on the individual family. Having multiple wives, meaning that it don't mean that they shouldn't work or they couldn't work. But if they don't want to work, they shouldn't have to work. If you have multiple wives and these wives have to work for the benefit of the family, no, you're in the wrong game, brother. You're in the wrong game. These wives should work
Right.
because they want to work. But you should have the onus on you that, listen, I am capable and I'm able and I can, but because I want you to feel fulfilled within yourself, if you choose to work, work. But if you come home and you say, listen, my husband have 3 jobs, I don't need this damn thing, and you come home,
Mhm.
you're home, honey,
Well,
no
well,
problem.
well, Stu, I'm not saying within the context of a woman that's, basically having busy work. I'm saying what the income that she's bringing in is, necessary to the function of the home. How would
Then
you view something like that?
he's a pimp. He's a pimp. He's not a polygamist, he's a pimp. He is a pimp because he's now relying. He wants something that he can't achieve on his own, and something that can only be accommodated if you're able to achieve it on your own. Listen, in order for you to achieve polygamy, you have to have the resources to maintain polygamy,
Mm.
right? And if you
I,
don't
I
have
I
the
wonder,
resources,
I'm thinking out loud. I wonder, does polyandry work the same way?
polyandrous,
How does that even work?
that's the biggest level of perversion. That's the biggest level of perversion. where where somebody say I'm polyandrous. They say, what that mean? We're in a relationship and I have both a husband and a wife. The wife
No, no, no,
in
no, no,
that
no, no.
relation.
No, no. Polyandry is where a woman, for example, would have three husbands.
Oh, that one? No,
Hmm.
how that works is that let's do Greek mythology. She'd have a be Aries. And so therefore she is a god and they are mortal men. And they are subservient to her because she is a god. Because you're asking 3 men to be subservient to a woman. And if you can find 3 men that are subservient to a woman, meaning that a man who by his very nature is competitive is okay to accommodate his prize, and his prize would be his woman to be the prize of two or another man. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. That is something fundamentally wrong with that. Any man
So
who is okay.
you wouldn't be one of two husbands, Stupies?
No, I wouldn't be one of 2 husbands. I wouldn't be one
What if
of two husbands.
what if the woman, right? Let's say it's Oprah,
No,
and
I still, no, because
hold on,
then
hold on,
now,
hold on. Let me
yeah,
lay it out. Let me lay it out for you, man, because
later.
you might change your mind. All right. Let's say it's Oprah, right?
Mhm,
You get a sprawling compound with
mhm,
a 10-room mansion with a
mhm.
helipad,
And
basketball
cars
court.
and everything my heart should desire
Yeah,
financially.
everything you could desire.
Am I allowed
However,
to? Am I allowed to have
nope,
sex with other
nope,
women?
nope, nope. I know you're gonna go there. Nope, nope.
Then no, but because then I would not. You can't consider yourself a man then.
So you're gonna turn down the 10-room mansion, the Ferraris. You don't want it.
No, because then you'd be in a golden prison. You'd be like a
Mm.
nightingale. You'd be like a kept nightingale. You'd be like a pet chihuahua. You'd be her chihuahua. And the very nature of a man is different. My nature is
Mm-hmm.
not to be provided to and to be protected from. That's not my nature. I'm a hunter gatherer by nature. I'm a hunter gatherer by nature. So there's something fundamentally wrong with me now casting aside my very nature for financial
Mm-hmm.
means. I might as well be turning on my stomach for Puff Daddy. No, because in that case, is how long before Oprah decide that, listen, I cannot, I feel like you guys need to have sex with each other for my benefit. And because I want to stay in this 10-man, 10-room mansion house and drive these pretty cars, I'm going to roll over on my stomach. That's what you minimized me to.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, on the other hand, I am not minimizing if I was rich, a woman, to that. And if you ask a woman to have sex with each other for your benefit, that's what you're doing. I'm saying to you that as a father of your children, I will inform them, I will protect them, I will guard them. What more do you ask for as a woman when it comes to your children? And many women will say, I don't ask for anything more than that. So I am giving them what they really require.
Right.
But she looking after me, it is not, it is against my nature.
Mm.
It's something fundamentally and totally different.
I
It's
know
like,
somebody. I know somebody in the chat who would vehemently disagree with this, Stupid. Can you guess his who?
oh, Lovejoy? No. No, but if you think about it, yeah, because listen, I tell you a story since you tell me that one. I don't know if I tell you the story. You know the story about Cinderella,
Uh-huh.
right? Well, for the audience, let me tell the story about Cinderella. The prince of the kingdom where Cinderella lived in had a party, and he decided from this party he's going to invite all the women in his kingdom who are single to his party. And from those women, he's going to select a wife. Now, all of these women got dressed in their nines. They put on some of the most beautiful outfits, and all of them went to the prince's party in hope that they will get the prince's attention and in order to win his affection and become his wife. Only one person was chosen that night, and thousands of women went home without the prize. But they went home to ordinary men now who they're asking to accept them as being the fallback, to accept that you're settling for me, although your dream was the prince. If I lived in that town, I would move out. None of those bitches I would want.
You know
And that
what?
is why polygamy,
And you know what,
and that
Stu?
is, and
That's
that
a
is why polygamy works.
that's a perfect
That is
segue.
why.
Perfect segue by you into the video that we're getting ready to play right now. So let's see how our brother Mwati the Third is living over there in what is that, Central Africa? Where is Swaziland? West or Central Africa? Doesn't matter. Let's get into it, people. Actually, you know what? I think I have the wrong thing there because that says Zulu,
Mhm.
and that is
That's
not
that's
Swaziland.
that's a Zulu Virgin Festival.
Yeah, that's I think that's South Africa, right? Let's see here. Let's see. Swaziland reed ceremony. Where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? That's the reed dance. That's 3 minutes. I want something a little long form, but not too long.
Mhm.
Hmm. Okay, those are Zulus also. Yeah, South Africa Zulu.
Mhm.
You know, ironically, in Swaziland and in South Africa, it's called a reed dance,
Right.
annual
But
reed dance festival, and so on. Made in certain Omlanga. All right, let me search that.
right.
UMHLANGA.
No, by the search, let me speak.
UMHLANGA.
All of these women goes to the prince every year, and they take off their clothes, and they're basically topless in a little weed skirt. So they're showing him 90% of their body in attempt for this prince to choose them. And then they go home now to ordinary everyday guy. They should be walking naked in the streets. I can see and decide also if I want them. That's a system now that is perverted, because as men in that country, I would say that I do not want your what left. I do not. You went to the buffer and the display a whole buffer line for you, the prince. And you took whatever you wanted from the buffet and you left the rest and you say, now you peasants can come and eat. That's what he did. And any man who call himself a man, who has to wait until the prince eats in order for him to get something to eat and is satisfied with that, we have a fundamental problem with that.
But you know, they don't have the same sensibilities as us stupids. You gotta keep
No,
that in mind too.
no, because that's an argument that everybody should have. That listen, no, I don't want your eating left. And if you're willing to display yourself for a man who disregards you, how important do you value yourself as a woman? That you're willing to be disregarded by this man, yet still now come to me and say, I am deserving of you, and you should put me on a pedestal. It's like the 1% argument. When a girl said that she wants a 1% man, he must be working high six figures, six pack, 6 foot tall, right? I know when she cannot achieve that, she come to an ordinary average guy and say, I like you. No, you don't. You don't. You don't. You don't.
All
And
right, I
since now I'm
think
in a position of power, yeah.
I think I found let's see what we got here.
You're a dream realized right in front of all of their eyes. You are she who believed that he would fulfill all his promises for her. B, can you see that you are Luke 145?
Mm.
I'm gonna watch the TV today. I wanna see that.
Yeah, I think that's still South Africa. Let me search by the king's name.
Yeah. But you
Let's
realize that
go,
if you go back
Swatini.
to the if you go back to the front of the
Oh,
video that you were watching, but you realize
damn.
that
I'm
you're going to
scared to
find
play.
him.
I'm scared to play this right here. Well, no, it's 60 Minutes of Australia.
Yeah. King of
I'm scared.
Swaziland.
I'm
As long
scared. I'm
as
scared.
no. As long as you go too fast. Right,
All
that's
right,
him.
let's
That's
get
There's
into
him.
it.
nothing quite
That's
like
the
it
asshole.
anywhere else in
That's
the
the
world.
asshole
An
arriving.
ancient African ritual,
Go ahead,
the
please, I will
spectacle
finish.
to end all spectacles. 100,000 virgins singing, dancing, paying homage to their king.
Wait a minute. Did you say 100,000?
Right,
Did I hear that right?
right.
Hold
Every
on.
year
Let's
all the
go.
virgins go.
Let's go back. Let's go
Yeah.
back.
There's nothing quite like it anywhere else in the world. An ancient African ritual, the spectacle to end all spectacles. 100,000 virgins singing, dancing, paying homage to their king. He's Mswati III, the absolute ruler of Swaziland, and he's on the lookout for another bride. Now, Mswati's no ordinary monarch. He leads an extraordinary, exotic life. At 38, he's accumulated 12 or 13 wives and we think 27 children. We think because royal protocol forbids
Real bad man.
Mhm. Mhm.
mere commoners knowing such personal details. But in a rare audience with His Majesty, we were able to raise these and other more serious questions about the King and his kingdom. Once a year, the stunning young women...
Dude, that is nuts, man. I'm with you, by the way, Stoopies. So now I'm supposed to take you after this dude rejected you. I'm supposed to just take the little leave back, little leftovers. What I'm supposed to do with that?
Yeah. No. You are willing now to display all of your virtues to this man in hopes that being chosen. And when you're not chosen by him, you return to your village where me, the ordinary man, must be happy that I got the king's what left.
I wonder if anybody's ever spoken to the men in the society and asked them, like, how do they look at it?
How do you feel after the king has rejected your wife? Your wife was on display for the king, was it not so? When she was a virgin.
Mm-hmm. And he could have had her, he just didn't want her.
He could have had her, but he didn't want her.
He threw her off your plate. You got the scraps.
You got the scraps off his plate. You got the scraps off his plate. So my question to you now, how does it feel to be no, you must put the scrap in a high place. How does it feel to you as a man that is elevating the garbage of another man? What another man consider garbage?
All right, what time where are we at? 9:10. So we're an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, so,
do what they've done for centuries. In wave after wave, they come from all corners of the country.
What the hell? Look at the amount of women. Yeah, that's crazy.
To perform in the Reed Festival, a spectacular dance of pride.
By the way, Stoopies, you're there?
Yes, I'm here.
I gotta learn more about this. Because hold on. Yeah, I mean, like she said, it's a tradition that's been going on for a long time. But traditions die eventually. Once people evolve and they see the they determine if they have any utility, going forward. But the reason why I paused the video here is because one particular young lady that I just saw clearly very underdeveloped, right? So my question is, well, even so, I'm sure there are, girls there that are, 17, 18, 19 who are also virgins, but at least they're, for all intents and purposes, young women. That one particular girl that I saw there, she has to be either barely post-puberty. So my question is, are some of those girls also eligible for the king to select? A 14-year-old potentially, 13? Like, something to think about. Yeah, I don't know either.
Otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know either. What's the youngest wife he's ever selected? That would be something interesting to know. So.
This has to be one of the great signs. It's colourful, it's noisy, and it's the real thing. This celebration isn't being put on for the tourists. There are hardly any tourists here. All these young women, and there are something like 100,000 of them, are dancing for...
Hey, by the way, how is this white lady not scared out of her mind, bro?
She's not in the crowd, it's a backdrop. It's not in the crowd. She's not in the crowd.
Oh, no, it's like a AI thing? Oh, yeah.
She's
you're
in the
right. You're
background,
right. You're right. Hey, all the black people.
That would be disrespectful because she's not a virgin.
Okay.
so she couldn't
Why
participate.
is a modern woman doing this?
I'm a Swazi.
So the
And
Oh
it's
no,
my
she's
culture,
there.
so I have to
She's there, Leah.
No, she with the woman dancing, she
Yeah,
wasn't there.
I
She's
know. I
there
know she
now.
was. Yeah, the dancing, she wasn't there. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are people who they're all it's an audience.
And Swaziland's ruler, His Majesty King Mswati III, clearly likes what he sees.
No, pause, brother. Pause
It's
for
not
a
often
second.
you
Pause
get
for a
so
second.
close.
Mm-hmm.
Pause for a second. Pause for a second. How much does that play on that pervert ego to know that he looks out and has 100,000 virgins dancing for him?
Yeah, it's
No, no,
kind of
no, no.
crazy.
That
But
fucker
again,
is
I
ego
mean, again,
maniacal.
this isn't something of his own doing, though, Stu.
Yeah, but he's enjoying it. You need to put a stop to
I
this
mean,
bullshit.
what man wouldn't enjoy it? I mean,
You have 100,000 virgins on display for your pleasure.
yeah,
How fucking huge an ego you have.
that's crazy. So you
No,
think
no.
that he should end the practice? He should be the one
Right.
that says,
Call it something else and end the practice. He's a modern man driving around in a Rolls Royce. He has been educated in England, in Oxford or Sourdough School. He's an educated modern man. He arrived in a brand new Rolls Royce. Dude, you have passed this archaic practice now. It's time to dismantle it. Call it something else.
but how do you know it's not your Western influence that's making you call this thing archaic? How? Because remember, we've been separated from our indigenous cultures for few centuries now.
You're right. I can't even dispute you on that. I can't even
But by the way, don't think I don't agree with you.
enough to realize that this shit don't feel right.
Yeah, because to my sensibilities,
no, you're right. But
to my sensibility, it don't make any sense either. Just wait, purely logistically, right? 100,000 virgins. How large is the population? How many men are in the population? Like you said before, a bunch of those women are going to be leftovers for some men. And that can't be, I just don't see logically the viability in that. Like, so I'm with you. I'm with you, but let's get into it.
To a culture so different to ours. It's even rarer to be invited to meet a king. Hello, Your Majesty. Nice to meet you. My name is Tara. Greetings.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Greetings from Australia.
Thank you.
Protocol and politeness make this a slightly awkward audience between king and commoner until we compare countries.
And of course, you've managed to overcome all the problems, challenges of unemployment, poverty. We are still going through that process of fighting that.
He's right. His tiny, impoverished country faces huge problems, but King Mswati is also condemned. The critics say he's a despot. Some of the criticism about you is that you're running the country into the ground, and, and that you are one of the 10 worst dictators in the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was surprised when I saw that, and I even asked myself, what is a dictator in this world? I don't know if people know the definition of dictator.
So you're not a dictator?
I don't consider myself to be a dictator, never at all.
Certainly he is an absolute monarch, but in my time in Swaziland, the king didn't show any signs of running the place like a dictator. Certainly not like Africa's supreme tyrant, Robert Mugabe. At 38, King Mswati III is a young man ruling an old culture. 60 Minutes first met King Mswati as a gentle 18-year-old. It was his coronation, and it was 20 years ago.
It's interesting to see myself that I used to look like this, so young.
This is the first time he's seen our footage of the day he became the Lion King of Swaziland. You look a bit unsure of yourself here.
When people are looking at you, it's something to worry.
Wow, Stoopy, look at that headdress, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I need me something like that right there, man.
That no. I'm not laughing at it. That's royal. Yeah. Yeah,
I,
it's nice.
I could see a pimp wearing that, man. Imagine you
Yeah,
go to the players' ball, you kill everybody, you wear that, man. You kill
yeah,
everybody.
yeah, because the man who
Sometimes.
wears that has 100,000 virgins.
Man.
But it's something
Yeah.
you have to get used to as a king.
Well, now I've got used to it, but at that time, I was really not used to it.
But 20 years on, he's become very used to the regal lifestyle, according to those who say his legacy is one of lavish excess, while 70% of the population is destitute. One big criticism is that you are a big spender, despite the poverty of your people. Is that true?
They don't know what they are talking about. They haven't got that information. It's speculation. That's what they do. They speculate, saying I'm a big spender.
Are you a big spender?
I'm not a big spender. It's not true.
Do you call it your majesty?
Yes, it's a majesty.
Having met the most important man in the land, I'm now invited to meet the most important woman. Not any of the king's wives, they're off limits, but the king's mother, the Queen Mother. Hello, Your Majesty. It's very nice to meet you. My translator is the...
Wow. What do you think about that, Soupies? You're not allowed to even talk to the women. What do you
Because
think?
the most important person in the kingdom is the king's mother.
Mm.
You understand what's going on here? He's a mama's boy. The country is literally run by this man. But continue. We can stop talking. Because you know
Lady
that.
Delamini, who, when in the presence of the king and the Queen Mother, is, as you can see, on his knees.
It's a sign of respect.
But you're a professional man, you're an adult. Do you sometimes feel like you're not being shown respect?
Oh no, it's a part of us. If I don't kneel, I feel I'm very disrespectful.
Swaziland is a kingdom of just over 1 million people. It's a tiny pocket, a quarter the size of Tasmania, tucked between South Africa and Mozambique. With little industry, tourism is the great hope. This rhinoceros breeding program is a pet project of the King's, but it's His Majesty's personal life and his country's practice of polygamy that raises eyebrows and opposition. Polygamy is something we find very difficult to understand in our culture.
The society of at the moment, they feel that it's important that we continue practicing.
And why is that?
We'll have to ask the society. So I don't know.
But you're part of the society. You're the leader of Swaziland.
Yes, that's right.
You don't know why it's a good idea?
And I have to really ask them myself that why they think it's such a good idea.
Pause that.
You're not supposed to talk to the king about...
Pause.
Ah.
No. I got a second to refresh my thinking. But let me say what they're saying. You see this 30-year-old man just tell the people them say him don't know why. Something that is important to culture, him couldn't explain it. Him couldn't explain, so this is a necessary component, X, Y, Z, why? You have never thought about I don't know why. Seriously, brother? Seriously?
No, we know why.
Seriously?
We know why.
Because he's a pervert and make a pervert.
Every male on earth should know why. I know why.
Right, but say it, justified. You're practicing it, justified. It cannot be justified.
Well, he put it off on the society. So he basically, you would almost give the impression that, hey man, my hands are tied here. I mean,
Right.
I don't even necessarily want to do this. But
Yeah, but I
the
have to
people,
do
they
it.
insist.
I have I have to do it for tradition. The people insist. What he just did a Pontius Pilate. He washed his
Hmm.
hands of the crucifixion of Jesus. That's what he did. But continue, play it some more. Play it some more.
These sorts of things, but we believe he has 12 wives and one fiancée. Still a long way off his father's tally of 70 or so wives. And word is,
All right, Soupies, you gotta give him some credit here. He's showing some restraint here because his father had 70 and he only has 12. Right? So you gotta do some kudos to him.
already King Mswati has almost 30 royal children. I understand that protocol stops me from asking you how many wives you have.
Yes.
But can I ask you how many wives you would like to have?
Well, even then, still protocol will not allow us to say how many will I like to.
And what if, I know I cannot ask you how many children you have, but can I
Yes.
ask you how many children you would like to have?
Well, I think I'd like to have, you know, a good number.
What is a good number?
It's just a very good number. That's what I would like to have.
For all the tradition and ancient rituals of Swaziland, this country is being decimated by a very modern disease. And the figures are tragic. If you're a woman, your life expectancy
HIV.
is 33. If you're a man, chances are you won't make it past 32. That's right, 32. These people are being cut down in their prime by HIV. And despite a very intense education program like this, infection rates are still one of the highest in the world. What would you say the rate of HIV is in this country at the moment?
Between 40 to 46%.
It's very,
8 and
very
10%.
Yeah, it is.
Can you believe?
How much? Stop. That's 46%? 46%?
Mhm.
You understand what 46% is, brother? Brother, you understand what 46% is?
Yeah, you know what? I kind of want to avoid this because my thinking on this whole HIV thing.
No,
Anyway,
but even if it's not sexual, brother, even if it's environmental, according to you, even if it's environmental and not sexual, a disease rate of 46% is nothing to play with. A life expectancy of 32 for men and 33 for women, even if it's environmental and not
right?
biological, that's a serious issue. If you're
Mhm.
saying that what they're testing for, what they're finding, and the symptoms that these individuals are showing are not HIV because the test's not real, but we have people dying all. So according to you, it's environmental. There's some environmental factor in that
Well,
country that needs address.
you're breaking up. Probably probably the number one environmental factor. I do know it's the number one environmental factor for all of Africa. Um, and it's likely the same for Swaziland. It's malnutrition.
All right, okay. We're not going to discuss
And
this.
that, yeah, I want to
Move
go to,
on.
but it is a disease indicator on the so-called HIV test. Anyway, we're moving
Yeah.
on.
46%.
Yeah.
Dr. Austin Iziagu is taking me on a tour of one of Swaziland's best hospitals. But still, it's awful. The overcrowding, the sickness, the deaths of so many so young. But HIV doesn't have to be a death sentence, does
No.
it? So why is it still taking lives here?
The fear of the stigma. So by the time they
too
come, it's
expensive.
already too late.
And they've infected other people.
Other people, yeah.
And these are the children left behind.
Red,
Is I shall sin
black and white.
inside.
Jesus
Jesus
Christ,
loved the little
Jesus,
children
the
of the.
little children of the world. But 40% they have HIV. But I love Jesus have. I can bet that 90% of them are Christian, but 46% of them have HIV.
Yeah,
Continue.
yeah. You know
But
what's so
that's another
funny?
conversation.
You know what's crazy is I was gonna call you earlier today and ask you how do you reconcile the viability of the so-called HIV test, whereby the proteins that constitutes a positive diagnosis in the United Kingdom, for example, are a completely different set of proteins in Zimbabwe. Like, how do you reconcile that? Just real quick, how do you reconcile that?
Okay. Okay. No. When we talk about the proteins, we're talking about the outer shell of
The,
the
the,
HIV virus.
well,
The
no, in this
outer shell.
case, no, I'm
The
sorry,
ca-
I'm sorry.
the
Hold on, no,
capsid.
wait. In this case, when we're speaking about the tests, the particular proteins that I'm
No.
referring to would be the antibodies. So when we like P24 and
Ah,
P41, and yeah, the
right.
presence of
So
those
it's basically,
antibodies in on that test is
yeah,
what
yeah.
constitutes a positive or negative diagnosis. And I'm saying, how can P41 and P24 mean positive over here, but
All
then
right.
P32 and
Okay.
P121 be positive? Yeah.
Okay. Let me say it now. Because when we're talking about antibodies are those natural protection that the body
Yeah,
produces.
I know.
The
Because remember, we
antigen.
don't have a lot of time. Hold on,
There's something like
Yeah,
hold
yeah,
on.
yeah.
100,000.
But
We don't have much time. I want it to be concise. I'm saying
okay.
you have two proteins in the UK that constitute a positive diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
In Zimbabwe, you have two completely different proteins that constitutes a positive diagnosis over there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be rude. I don't want to go into yeah.
This cannot be a short answer, so we'll save this for another day. It
Okay.
cannot be
All
a
right.
short answer because you're asking
Orphans
for.
in Swaziland.
Mhm.
Go ahead. Finish up what you were saying.
Yeah, you're asking for a short answer for a more complicated situation, and it can't be a short answer. It's
Okay.
just a yes or no. But continue.
All right. All right.
That's 10% of the population. Again, because of stigma, children aren't tested for HIV. But the King has decreed these little ones will be looked after. He's ordered the chief's wives to set up orphanages across the country. To think that the average child won't reach the age of 40 is shocking, isn't it?
Yes, it is definitely shocking. And when you see the many young ones dying and all that, it's something which really touches our heart.
The Reed Festival is a chance for these young Swazi virgins to celebrate their chastity. But the King has gone a step further. To fight HIV...
And that's the other thing, too. You know, in a ceremony where, real quick, in a ceremony where literally 1/10 of the population, is involved, right? And that 1/10 we know for certain are virgins. How is it that HIV, so-called HIV/AIDS, is that prevalent there in a culture that values chastity that much, and where literally 1/10 of the population at any given time has never had sex?
All right.
Yeah.
Easy. Is that we're looking at 1/10 of them never having sex. So let's cut out 1/10. But yet we still have 46% of the population positive. So among the 90% who are having sex, 50% of them, 5% of the whole is 50% of 90. Right? So if we look at it this way, when they're beginning to have sex and they begin to invest in sex, they have a 1 in 2 chance of having sex with somebody who is already positive. when these virgins ready to engage in sexual activity, the pool that they have to pick from is so corrupted that the possibility that if they choose this person versus the other person, they might be exposing themselves to the disease because of the high rate that was in the population. That is it. So so those 100,000 virgins, once they start having sex, 50,000 of them is going to get positive anyway. And when they have children, many of these children will be born with the disease. But it is what it is. Now, I understand the virgin festival because celibacy upon this age, up until this age. So it's actually an HIV prevention ceremony that in keeping through celibacy to maintain your virginity so that you can partake in the virgin festival. Right? So I wouldn't so much test the woman. I would make it a requirement for marriages that men are tested. Because we have 100,000 women who coming into the reproductive age and they are virgins. Chances are some of them born with it. Chances are some of them didn't. I would know that through birth, it's far less. It's far less because coming out to the birthing canal is that 1 in 10 child that born to a positive person is positive. So of these women, only 10,000 of them might be positive. If we look at it that way, if we look at the numbers on a whole and the statistics.
Man, Swaziland would. Yeah, Swaziland would.
You lower the risk.
I was going to say Swaziland would represent a very interesting case study insofar as HIV is concerned. They have a very unique type of demography and how the demography is.
Zimbabwe.
Does Zimbabwe do the same sort of thing with the virgins and all that?
No, but high rate of HIV. Many countries have a high rate of HIV, especially civil war torn countries.
High degrees of HIV diagnoses is certainly not. That's not a unique thing on the continent. So I was more so speaking to the demography or the demographics of the country and how interesting it will. That's a very big cohort. If you were to do a study to have 100,000 or 1/10 of the population be virgins, that's a nice very very powerful control group, to conduct a study. It'd be very interesting to see
the beautiful
what could be gleaned. What could be gleaned from a study of Swaziland. It's very interesting.
But the problem with that virginity is cherished because it is a currency. Virginity is a currency that has a lot of value. So a girl being a virgin is actually a currency when the time comes for sexual selection. So she being a virgin will now increase her demand.
Anything interested in the chat
demand
still?
For her.
Anything interested in the chat? Okay, all right. Let's finish up here. Okay.
He introduced a program of abstinence. Girls under 18 asked to give up sex for 5 years.
And I was so happy to see that the figures of the HIV/AIDS rate from their age group, it decreased a lot. So it helped the country very much.
Did you worry at all that the young people might say, well, the king has so many wives, he has so many children, and yet we must abstain?
We don't discuss how the king should take and how should he not take. It's not something we debate.
Does the king get much criticism in Swaziland?
I don't know.
The king is trying his level best with the government to provide services and delivery to the people.
Would you tell me if you thought he was a bad king?
I would tell you.
No, you wouldn't.
I will tell you.
Hey, so you saw how dangerous white people are? Eh? She almost about to get this damn man killed.
I will tell you, but as far as I'm concerned, the king is doing all his best.
Clearly, the Swazi girls see the Reed Festival as a time for celebration. It's a
You know, let's be honest, Stoopies. The Reed ceremony really is a lottery, a lottery entrance, right? It's not just a time for celebration. It's a time for potentially coming up from a lifestyle of abject poverty and potentially becoming wealthy.
Yeah, it's a lottery ticket.
That's what it is. It's a lottery ticket for 100,000 virginal women. And that's why they're flocking like that, and that's where their families are sending them to partake in that ceremony.
Yeah, it's no different than us going on a Wednesday to buy a lottery ticket.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lottery ticket. It is listen, for the benefit of the family, I hope that's a win. And then the other thing we need to take into consideration is that this country, the poverty rate is too high. And sex now become a commodity when people poor. When people poor, sex becomes a commodity. When things are good, pimps go broke. When the economy is bad, pimps get rich. Sex has always been a valuable commodity for poor people. Well, so.
Man, I can't believe we're 2 hours in, man. Like, where does the time go? All right, let's finish up.
Breathtaking spectacle. And legend has it, the king may even choose his next queen from their ranks. As part of tradition, the girls must cut a reed for their king. This year, the first to do so is his eldest child, 19-year-old Princess Sakanaso.
I'm on the mic, you know, I'm throwing spit'ems. When I'm on my back, you know, I'm right with them. So you're down with the crown, or you want to just hate me?
You might have guessed, she's currently studying in California.
Well, you got your stagger on, I got my swagger on. You know you got some, my nigga take that thing home.
Hold on. Did she say the N-word?
Yes, she rapping. She's in California, she rapping.
It's crazy.
That's terrific.
And
what does your dad think of the rap?
My dad thinks I'm slick with it. He thinks I'm good.
Standing here, you look like a child of America.
Oh, really?
A little, yeah.
Why? They always are shocked when I tell them I'm from Africa. Like, no, you're not. Yes, I am.
Are you
Lord.
proud to be from Africa?
Stop, brother. Stop.
Man, she looked just like him, too.
She looked just like him, but let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
She don't know what is going on in our country. She go to California in school, and she come back rapping. Oh, Lord Jesus. Why? Why?
It's a mess, ain't it?
It's a mess.
Absolute mess, man.
It's a mess, and he's a despot. How he maintains power is by keeping his people poor. And then they worship him like a god. Him have a god complex. We'll continue. This is another argument for another day.
Like the way they think they're the only ones who can look good. Not that I'm saying I look good, but I don't look too shabby either.
You don't look shabby at all. Leading the dancing on the last day of the festival, the globetrotting princess is first and foremost a proud Swazi. Has your daughter taught you a bit of rap?
She had sung for me and did a bit of rapping for me, but me, I don't know how to do it.
But this dancing king isn't a monarch stuck in the past. With all his nation's problems, he knows he needs to rule a modern Swaziland if both king and country are to survive.
It is a big challenge, but we have to balance it. I always like to make an example as a piano.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw him with his shirt off, I thought he was part of the Reed ceremony.
He's part of
Initially,
the
I had it.
process.
No, I thought he was one of the girls with the.
Yes.
I had to look again.
This fat
Eh,
is not anything to play with.
flabby dude, huh? Eating real good. Eating
You
real
play
good.
one key,
Yeah.
it will not produce very nice music. So in order to produce good music, you need the both keys to play in a piano. So the same thing with our case. If you have the traditions and modernity, you mix it together, it works well.
But you have to get the notes right.
Absolutely.
For the music to sound good.
Definitely, yes.
So
Yeah.
you're getting the notes right, are you?
I'm trying my best.
Yes, people. Man, interesting, man. It's crazy how the time flew. Because I feel like there's so many talking points that I wanted to get to that I'm not going to get to tonight. I'm trying to see if I could catch the tail end of this Knicks game.
Yeah, but let me close with
yeah.
saying this. This king proved that polygamy is the glory of despots. Because when one can become as polygamous as one chooses, one tends to overlook everything else except their desires. He doesn't give a flying fish about his people. He's about himself. When you have that abject poverty, yet still he's driving to his ceremony in a $300,000 Rolls Royce or a $400,000 Rolls Royce, when everybody around him, the police on $60,000 motorbikes, because those are the Honda Gold Wings. They're not cheap. Right? No, he's a despot. No, I understand why you're trying to get rid of what the despots love. But trust me, there's no win for the average person here. But my argument is that poor people can't practice polygamy. Poor people can't practice polygamy. And black people are poor people. It don't matter if he's a millionaire. When a black man go to the strip club and throw up $50,000 in the year, he's still poor. And he's behaving like a poor person. Because when he goes back home, what he goes back home to? What is it that he goes back home to? But we'll continue the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Let's have a part 2, man. Like there's a lot to flesh out here. A lot, man. So yeah, great discussion. Peace. Till next time, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Matter of fact, I want to play something for the people real quick so they get the reference. There's a reference we use all the time, the real bad man.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can let them in on the inside joke, stoopies.
Yeah.
Real quick before we get out of here, man. Hey, check if the game's still going on, too. Please. You hear me, Stu?
Yeah, I can't check. I can't
You're not
check.
at home?
No, but you know that the app that you sent me don't work, right?
I might have sent you the wrong
the
link.
children in the community goes out and come in safe. A bad man in the community see to it that terrorist does not terrorize the community, rape the little school people them, terrorize the poor people them, rob you when you go to work from Monday till Friday, and the one money you have to come in to take care of the people them, then rob you and take it and go to shoot you, kill you. That is a responsibility. Dodos is a bad man, real bad man. Zeeks is a real bad man.
How do you know
Adams is a real bad man. Leng is a real bad man. Tone Youth a real bad man. Starkey, Copper, Rag in the whole of we have stand up as a real bad man. The people that protect Jamaica from terrorists are real bad man. Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
And Ninja Man ranks in that group.
Dan of all Dan Corgan. Real bad man.
How many children do you have?
23. 22 baby mother. Real bad man.
Hey, with that people, man, we out of here, man.
Real bad man.
Real bad man.
Right.
So yeah, if you're ever wondering where that inside joke came from, now you know. So people, from your favorite Jamaican, Peter Bag Juice, and my brother, Stu Pizza. Yeah, we out of here, man. Till next time, y'all.
And if you have any topics that we can discuss, leave a comment.
Yes,
leave a comment.
please.
We get our point of view.
Thumbs up the
Leave a
video,
comment.
tell a friend, share, leave a comment, you know, and definitely give us some topic suggestions of stuff you'd like to hear spoken about. Until next time.